Hello, you beautiful souls. Happy Wednesday. I am so excited to be talking tonight with Chanel from the Self-Worth Launch about body-based healing and her healing journey. And I will now try to invite her. We'll see if I will manage everything. So be patient with me, please. Yes. Okay, I think she should be here in a second. And I'm so excited for you to be here. I'm so excited to be talking to Chanel, who is here. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
Great. I had a wonderful day. And yeah, this is a wonderful end to it. So I'm so grateful for your time. And I'm so excited for our conversation.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's a pleasure. For everybody listening or watching who doesn't know you yet, you were on my podcast, I think in July-ish. Is that possible, time-wise?
September?
Could be. I know it was before I went to Bali.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. It launched in September. I just checked the episode if you want to watch it. It's called the power, Unlock the Power Within, the secret of healing yourself. And for everybody watching, you have to tune into this wonderful, beautiful episode. But for everybody who doesn't have the time right now, who doesn't know you yet, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I live in Vancouver, on Vancouver Island, Canada. I am a former clinical counselor, and I've really sort of just fully merged myself into more of the somatic world, which I love, love, love. It's completely transformed my life. It's work that I embody every day, and I just want to share as much as I can with anybody who's willing to try it and to embody this work.
Wonderful. So, for everybody who wants to know your personal journey, that's a little bit more on the podcast. I would really like to dive deep into the topic of somatic healing. And then also, you said former clinical counselor. I think in the podcast episode, you were still working as one.
Yeah.
So, would you describe and tell us what happened, what changed, and why did you stop clinical counseling, and what is kind of the magic about body-based healing, the somatic work that you're doing now, and what is it actually for everybody who doesn't know yet?
Yeah, definitely. My job as a clinical counselor, I was working in a treatment center on Vancouver Island, and I think there is an absolute need for this. I was actually in that treatment center about 12 years ago, so it sort of went full circle. It was a lot of crisis management, which just did not align with the work I wanted to do. I like to work with those individuals maybe 2-3 years after they come out of the center. So I was just a little bit, I guess, premature in terms of where I was working. But like I said, there's an absolute need for it. I admire those counselors, the things they go through day in, day out. I have absolutely nothing but love for that place and everyone that worked there. But it just didn't feel, it didn't feel good for me and aligned for me. That's when I started, I've been doing somatic healing with my therapist for about 3 years now. And when I say somatic, body-based healing. So there's a lot of mindset work that's been done. There's a lot of cognitive therapy, which is great. And I also feel that we need to bring in the body because that's where we hold trauma. That's where we hold our emotions. That is where the issues of not feeling safe, not feeling enough, not feeling worthy, they live in the body. And so I'm very passionate about taking that bottom-up approach and allowing people to safely tap into their bodies because we live in the mental space, right? We live in the mental space. We live in a very, very stimulated world. And so we live really from the neck up. And we forget about this vessel that we have, that has so much intelligence and so much wisdom and so much knowing. And so I just invite people to just, you know, tap into that, explore that, see what comes through for them.
So what, for example, could we do? Or what is one of the exercises? We will do one later on, right?
Sounds good.
But what is it? Is it like breath work? Is it like tapping? What is somatic healing itself and this body-based work?
So somatic healing is really an umbrella term from the way that I look at it. So what I've studied and what I do specifically is breath work, which I believe we talked about a little bit before. So I do breath work. I do very gentle breath work. So I do pranayama, which stems from the yogi tradition. And then I do parts work, which I've talked to you a little bit about as well. And that is working with the different parts that live essentially within our bodies. So there's a part, for instance, my story, there was a part of me that would binge eat. There was a part of me that would purge. There was a part of me that's a little obsessive compulsive. There's a part of me that is a daughter, a sister, and so forth. So these live within us. And so we tap into the body and we start exploring and getting curious with what these parts need.
So you start to communicate with them, right? And
Yeah.
you start, instead of like what we usually, like our first instinct usually is to, if we have a part who is the compulsive one, we try to push it away, right? And your approach is basically the opposite, but inviting him and saying like, hey, why are you here? Why do you exist?
Yeah.
Do you have a message for me?
Yes. We have a preschool of children living within us. And those are the parts that we're into. Because, you know, as an adult, I mean, I'm in a space where I can cognitively, like, I know I'm safe, right? But it's these little parts that need my attention that I've ignored, and so many people have ignored for years and years and years. And so the three things I like to sort of live by is curiosity, compassion, and connection. And when we bring that into parts, they just start to heal themselves. We don't really have to do anything. It's one of those things where we have to really experience it to really understand. It's something that's, you know, if I articulate it, it doesn't even do it justice. So yeah.
I can 100% agree. Like when I started to work with my inner child and so on, like that was when my true healing started. So I agree 100%. And how do you navigate that? Or how do you just feel a certain sensation in the body and then connect with it and like ask what is that part, or how do you do it?
So usually what happens for me and a lot of people is it starts in the mental mind. So a narrative starts, right? And maybe I'm, stressing about a certain situation. Maybe I'm obsessing about, you know, what I need to do that day, or I'm overwhelmed. It really starts with the mental mind for me. And then from there, having the awareness. So the key to all this is just really having the awareness, right? So I go, oh, okay, so I'm up in my mind right now, allowing that narrative to kind of take place, but taking a step back, like noticing it from more of an observational standpoint versus being fully immersed. And then from there, only from that spot, will I start to just deepen my breathing and just go into the body. Like for instance, right now I'm a little nervous, right? I can feel it come up. And so I notice it, and then I go into the body and I can feel it's right here in my throat chakra. And then from there, without, again, still from that observational standpoint, with no judgment, I just notice. I just go, yeah, like you're having some fears coming up, you know, and I understand that, and I hear that, and I see that, and I'm here and I'm with you. And just like, even as I'm saying that, it's starting to settle. It's really just starting to settle. And everybody there's no right or wrong way to do this. This is just what works for me, right? Everybody, you can take what I say and then you just filter it in a way that's going to work for you. So it really starts in the mental mind for me. And then I notice it. I go, okay, there's this narrative going, and okay, I see you, I hear you. And then I go into the body. And then from the body, we can even go into the more the intuition part as well from there. So it's kind of like mental body, emotional body, intuitive body. So there's these layers.
And you then kind of like connect with your intuitive body and try to feel like, okay, what part is that of me, or how do you go on? Because you said you have like a compulsive part, you had a part that it was binge eating, you have an inner child and so on. Like, how do you figure out these parts, and then how do you connect with them?
I think I just through awareness. Like, I think my big thing was working with somebody, working with another healer that would help me point out some of those parts, because sometimes when you're in it you can't see it. What really helped me identify those parts is doing breath work. So again, I'm not immersed in with the feeling, I'm not immersed in with the emotion, I'm not immersed with what's ever happening. I'm an observer, I'm a witness to it. And when I take a step back and I can see what's going on, the chaos that's going on in front of me, I can go, oh, so there's a part there and there's a part there. But when you're in it, yeah, it's really hard to figure out what's going on. For myself, I had to work with somebody so I could learn to be the observer of my life. So I can learn to be the witness of my life and not get in that spiral, right? Which so many of us do.
Absolutely. To me, meditation has been the game changer for me, to become this observer and start to not like, I remember before I started meditating and doing yoga, kind of both. I used to think I'm my emotions and my thoughts. I used to 100% identify with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to meditate and got into Eckhart Tolle, who said like, you're the observer and stuff. And it was like, I remember the moment I was standing in my kitchen. I remember the moment when I listened to the audiobook, and it was kind of like a huge, whoa, I am not my thoughts. And it was like this huge moment, this like, whoa, my world just shifted. And that's when, to me, I could get the power to change my mindset, to change, like, to not identify with my emotions and feel like, and become, to have this role of like, okay, what is actually popping up right now? Because the problem is never the problem. It's usually, I don't know, when you're right now scared about some work related stuff, it's actually, as you say, the inner child that is just being triggered by a similar situation, and that situation right now is just an opportunity for us to heal that inner child.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing. That's beautiful.
Said that. Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So, and why would you say counseling is not the thing for you anymore? Was it mostly talking and like very much a mind approach? And was the part that was missing for you the body-based approach, or how did this shift came?
The shift came from personal and professional experience. So I have been a counselor, a clinical counselor, and I have also been on the other side as a patient. And again, I fully believe there's an absolute need for it at a particular point in your life, right? Especially when you're just starting out your healing journey, you need some airtime. Your parts need some airtime. Talking it out. A lot of individuals did not feel heard as children, right? So the need to be seen and heard and talk about what's going on is so important, right? I feel for me, though, it became very repetitive, and I just kept reinforcing my narrative, reinforcing my story, right? And it just kept playing over and over and over again, and I was just going in circles. And I'm a very hyper-attuned, hypersensitive individual. And so for me, going into the body and exploring that, and also I really struggled with safety. Right? When you struggle with an eating disorder, a lot of it comes from not feeling safe in your body. So I was living from the neck up. So I was healing, or I was trying to move forward, but I wasn't in my body. I was just neck up. And so I think it served a purpose, but I do feel that I was meant to transition into more body-based work, because that's where, for me, again, this is my experience, but that's where the magic happens. That's where the cellular shifts happen. That's where I feel best. Like, I try as much as I can to live from my body, to talk from my body. Yes, we have to be in the mental cognitive mind at times, but I make sure before I even access that part that I'm grounded.
Beautiful. How do you then ground yourself? Like, what are the practices you do to feel grounded and more safe when you have these moments of, I think so many people struggle with that. There's like one thing, life throws so many things at us, and then we start to like be more stressed in our mind and so on. And it's almost like we're leaving the body. And what's helping you in those situations? Like I have several friends who struggle with anxiety and so on. So what is helping in those moments to like ground yourself, feel safe again, and feel calm?
Yeah, I think what's really important for me, again, like I'll go back to what I said before, is noticing what's going on in the mind, really noticing. I think there's sort of two parts for it. I think for me, what helps is in the moment, sometimes it's just so overwhelming, right? And it's kind of hard to get out of it. So for me, having a daily practice when I am feeling calm in the morning, 10, 15 minutes of breath work. Because what happens is when I do that is I start practicing becoming that observer, becoming that witness. So when stress does arise, which is going to happen, it's very natural, it's part of life, right? When these stresses do arise, I'm in a place where I can really step back and go, whoa, like I can catch it much faster. So if I didn't have a daily practice, then yes, it would be very, very difficult in those moments for me to ground myself. But if I have that daily practice and things arise, I can go, okay, this is what's happening right now. A lot of the times what I'll do is, because I'm very much in the mental space, and I don't know if you follow astrology, but we just left an air sign. We've been in an air sign, Aquarius, for a few years. So we've all been very much up here. So I will go outside and I'll just plant my feet, or I'll sit down. And I know that might sound like silly, but I will use nature. I will use the earth to help ground me and tell myself that I'm safe. That's a big thing, is once I start doing my breathing, plant my feet on the ground, I'll just start telling myself, you're safe. You're safe, because I know for me it's a safety issue. I know for me it's a safety issue. And sometimes it's very easy to distract ourselves with the breath work, like in those moments. Sometimes I will do breath work, but sometimes I'm at a space now where I can just allow it, right? I can move through it and not just because if I move through, because it's just stuck, right? It's just energy that's stuck, and reminding myself there's just something stuck right now. That's all. Easy,
Yes.
but
I absolutely agree. And grounding yourself with like just being barefoot on grass, I find this is one of the most, like, no matter what you're facing, there is this magic to it. So I agree 100%, and it's so beautiful. Have you ever tried tapping?
You know what? I had a business coach, and I did do tapping with her. And then I follow somebody who is in the body and food space, and she does tapping as well. And she absolutely loves it. I don't have a daily practice, but it is something that I'm taking a course right now. So I'm hoping that it's something that we'll touch on. Have you tried it?
Yeah, I love it. I use it, like, I don't do it daily because I just do it, like an intense emotion that you're feeling. The theory of tapping is basically that it's, as you say, energy stuck in the body. And by tapping those meridians, you can kind of completely change it. So whenever I feel emotions where I know exactly they don't belong here in the here and now right now. This is some old stuff that's coming up. I'm right now all of a sudden feeling unsafe, as you say, or like, then I just like walk away from my desk. Usually I have it like work related, something like this. And I just walk away from my desk and I tap for 15 minutes. And you basically like, you have these spots where you just tap while saying, well, the base is even though I feel overwhelmed right now, I truly accept and love myself. And what it does is that the right and the left brain, like with like you work on both brains, you work kind of like on the cognitive part while releasing that energy. And to be honest, I don't know too much about the theory, but all I know is that within 10 minutes, I can completely shift how I feel. And beginning, I remember when I found tapping, I was like, what is that? Like, what the woo stuff? And I was like, not at all and like not understanding. And yet I tried it and I noticed such a profound difference. And since then, it's like my go-to tool whenever I feel like, especially when I'm like worried, where I know that doesn't belong here. This is some old stuff. Like try it, just turn on a YouTube video or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly life-changing. I love it.
Okay. It's interesting because I keep seeing it pop up, and now you're bringing it up. So I will take that, and I'll definitely YouTube it and look into it. Very cool.
Very powerful too. Beautiful. And again, we are at the body, because like the mind, it's like, that's why I love tapping so much, because it's one of these tools. I believe mindset is so powerful, and having a growth mindset and an abundance mindset and a positive mindset and so on, those are the things. It's like the frame too, in my mind, and a fulfilling life. But it can only bring you so far. And sometimes when you have such strong emotions or certain things, then like thinking about it in a positive way, but you don't manage to shift the feeling, then it doesn't really do anything. Then it sometimes I believe it feels like lying to yourself, and kind of like, yeah, I should feel like this, but I just don't. So it doesn't really work. And that's where I feel these body-based things come into play, because that's where you can truly shift the energy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, mindset is it's so important. It's a big piece. But like you said, when you do have those big emotions, there is this misalignment of your mind is trying to convince you otherwise, in a sense, but your body is going, that's not my reality. That's not what we've experienced, right? So sometimes in those moments, we got to just dip a little deeper, play around in that for a bit, and then the mind will naturally follow, right? But sometimes the body is like, that's a lie. That's not what I've experienced in the past. That's not what happened, right? Because we're frozen in time. We're stuck in that 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old. Even like, I don't think we talk about inner child a lot. I don't think we talk about our inner teenager, because my inner child, she's good right now. My inner teenager, she's angry. She's an angry girl, and I'm starting to recognize this. So I'm like, okay, I want to start looking into her, right? The 14 to like 18-year-old, because I don't think it's talked about enough. But I know my inner teenager, she's angry. She's angry.
Thank you so much for sharing. I've not even thought about connecting with my inner teenager. So that's so beautiful. For somebody who like right now feels like me, like, oh, wow, yeah, I could actually, like, how does my inner teenager feel? Like, what would you recommend? How do we connect with him or her?
I think I like to start with, and that's a good question. For me, I'm going to say what works for me is that when I think of, so I need something to work with, right? So when I think of, I'm going to go with a relationship, because that's really apparent for me. So when I go with a relationship, and, something that happened when I was 18, 19 years old, I sort of very gently bring myself back to that. And I start noticing what emotions come up for me, right? And that's where, for me right now, is the anger. It was sadness for a long time, but now it's the anger. So from that standpoint, I name the anger, and it might actually have a name. Like it might have, let's just say Bob for the sake of this, right? It might actually have a name. And from there, I just start focusing on that emotion, that frustration, right? So I start dropping the narrative a little bit. The narrative and the story just helps me pinpoint the emotion. But then from there, I just follow the emotion into my body. And for me right now, again, sitting right here as I'm talking about this, and I just start asking it questions. Again, compassion, connection, curiosity. I can do this if I have a journal. Maybe I'll start journaling. If I'm working with, another coach or therapist, they'll be asking me questions. I'll be writing it down, and I'll just really it just starts speaking to you, right? And you'll start to see a relation between, that situation and that age, but you'll also see that it did stem from something so much deeper and probably something so much younger, right? So it's really, I really use the inner teenager, a situation, as a way to guide me into the emotion, because we're never, like you said, we're never really upset about the reason that we're upset, right? But it's sort of a gateway, because for me, I believe the anger is stuck at 18, 19 years old, maybe even early 20s. That's where my anger is. And so there's really no right or wrong way to do it. I like to just use, like I said, use the story as a guiding point, and then from there just go into the emotion in the body.
Beautiful. The saying, feel it to heal it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly that approach, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah. I mean, I've never, this inner teenager, I just realized it, honestly, like probably about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just starting to explore it.
You actually said we can also talk a little bit about relationships. Do you want to share something that was triggering about that relationship? Or if not, perfectly fine. Like, then maybe what did you just learn over, like, compared to the relationships you used to have towards the ones you have now?
Yeah. I think, relationships are interesting because they are really the forefront to transformation. Because I truly believe we attract what we need, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, right? People are mirrors for us. And it took me a long time to realize that. And I've always struggled with letting go. I've always struggled with, there was always, I'm going to go back to parts here, because there was always a part of me, and there's still are parts of me that feel connected to certain people from the past. And you could call it trauma bonding. You could call it a past life connection. You could call it karma. You could call it whatever you want, right? And I've learned to just drop those labels and just accept there is a part of me. It's not me, right? Not innately who I am, but there is a part of me that feels connected to somebody. And I have learned to accept that. I have learned that, because the more that I fight it and go, no, they're not good for me, and I'm an empath and they're a narcissist, like, I just had to drop those labels, because it just fueled it, and it just energetically, I was holding on to these people, and it was not good for my mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health. It was absolutely draining. It's where I spent most of my energy, and these people weren't even physically in my life, right? But they were these energetic ties. So really working with parts work again. And it's almost like I'd be doing something, and then this part would kind of like run off and connect with almost their part, if that makes sense, and they'd connect, and then that part would come back to me, and I go, oh my gosh, I just get so overwhelmed, and all of a sudden I'm thinking of them, and I would beat myself up about it, because it would happen out of the blue. But once I'm like, okay, there is a part of me that's connected to this person. This person provided me with a valuable lesson, and like, that's okay. And I told that part, that's okay. And I asked that part, what do you need from him? What do you need from him? And what came through for me during a meditation was, I want him to see me, and I want him to hear me, and I want him to see like how far I've come. And so I started giving myself those things little bit by little bit. And what happened was, it just, that tie just started to break, and there was no gravitational pull anymore. And it was so freeing, so freeing. It was just like, I feel like I've been walking around super tense for the last like 10 years, right? And once I started doing this work, I was like, it's okay to feel connected to him, right? It's okay, regardless of what happened, it's okay, right? It's just, I feel that's how I've really healed relationships. And it wasn't through labeling. I think for me, labeling just, it fueled everything. And I do believe that, and you could probably resonate with this, is like we're all connected, right? We all come from source. So when you start seeing yourself as whole, complete, and in, you know, you're really sort of in your knowing, that person sees it too energetically. They see it too. And you start to see that because everything is a mirror, right? And so that's really how I've been healing my relationships, intimate or platonic, right? Really with anybody.
That's amazing. What I love about how you're talking, like I'm sure in your mind it looks a little bit different, but what I really, really love is how little judgment you have towards yourself on this healing journey. And I think that is necessary because so many of us, me included, beat ourselves up way too often. And to show ourselves this compassion is, in my mind, such a key to being peaceful to where we are right now, and then sometimes I think so many people think like, okay, if I'm right now like soft to myself, then I won't reach my goals, and so on. But it's actually in my mind the opposite.
Yeah.
That when we beat ourselves up, then we don't come anywhere, because then that's where we start to suffer emotionally, when our mental health starts to suffer, and where we get into a spiral out of, like, we don't even need to talk about the energetic part, and then you start to attract more lack and so on. But generally, like, beating ourselves up doesn't bring us anywhere. And self-compassion and this no judgment towards yourself that you're all the time talking about, I believe that's like such an important key factor of healing. And what's your opinion on that?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it took me, Hannah, it took me so long to embody that. I definitely delayed that. Our world is very in its masculine. And so, and I was very much in my wounded masculine. So it was very rigid and controlling, and I have to do, go, go, go. And really I honestly think that's a lifelong lesson for me, is bringing in compassion. And something that I talked about previously, I don't believe with you, but I was talking about with another practitioner, is when we are healing, especially at the beginning, it is critical that we are gentle with ourselves. We aren't going to feel as motivated. We're not running on a stress response anymore, right? We're not running on fight or flight. And so we're going to be fatigued. We're going to be tired. There's going to be times where we don't feel as motivated. And I wish somebody would have shed some insight into that earlier. I don't think it was talked about as much, but now I notice people are talking about it more and bringing more awareness to it. But that is how we get where we want to go, I truly believe, is through self-compassion.
Absolutely.
Right. Oh, and it's not, society labels it as lazy, unmotivated, and it's just not the case. And I still work on that, right? And I think as a female, especially, understanding my menstrual cycle and living according to my menstrual cycle. Now, I'm not going to talk on this because I'm not an expert by any means. I have a very good friend, Simone, who is very much into this work, and she's taught me a great deal. But I live according to my menstrual cycle now, and so that means there are days where I don't do much. And I honor that, and I honor my body, and it's non-negotiable for me. It's non-negotiable. So that's a whole other topic, but that has been something that I've educated myself on, and it's really, 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 really helped me transform my life and heal from an eating disorder. It's really helped me. It really brought me from this point of kind of teetering on recovery, and it's sort of, I would make some headway and then kind of go back a little bit and make some headway. This really just launched me forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I have 100% the same story. I was also like all the time, go, 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 do, and so on. It was always like I was so in the masculine, and I always thought I needed to do something to feel worthy. That was my thing. Like I was only allowed to rest if I did something. And I swear, I still, this is like, I was reflecting at the end of 2022 on what was my biggest kind of like learning and lesson of the year. And it was really that I need to allow myself, and that I was starting to allow it to myself, to rest more, to embrace this feminine energy, which is so powerful. You know, that's the thing though. Like, feminine energy actually is super powerful energy.
Yeah.
But we're so brainwashed from our society that we need to hustle, and we need to constantly go, and we don't understand that it's this yin and yang, you know? Only being in feminine is also not the right.
Yes.
But we need both, no matter if we're male or female.
Yeah.
And to starting to allow myself, and to like, not with a story of, oh, you should do this and this, but to be like fully okay with resting.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is like such a big journey for me, and it started in the last year, and I'm still on it, but I believe that is what made my game changer, to improve my mental health, to like also to be way more productive on the times that I work on. And just to enjoy life more, and to I believe this is, and the funny thing is, I had so many especially females podcast guests that said exactly the same. They used to be like burned out, just run on the masculine energy, and once they started to tap into the female more, this is where things started to change. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. I believe this, like, we women need to hear this more, so thank you so much.
Yes, and it's there's so much, like you said, there's so much power being in the feminine, and yeah, we absolutely need both. And I know for myself, I try and live as much as I can through the feminine, but in terms of like, you know, the business side of work, I have to switch into more of the masculine. And so I make sure that my feminine is grounded, and then I switch into my masculine. And the feminine she's sort of the base of the masculine energy. That's sort of how I envision it. And then the masculine can go and do its thing, the masculine part of me. And then when it's done, then I go back to my feminine. And it's just, I like living in that space, but I need the masculine. And I actually have some, a breathwork technique that can help you with activating the left or the right hemisphere of the brain.
Is this the exercise you would like to do with us?
What would you like? Would you like me to show you how to activate that, or would you like me to bring you through a process?
I would like to whatever you want, what you had in mind. So I'm open to whatever. And
okay, well, let me go into like maybe a bit of a parts process into the body. And
what's coming to you? So wonderful. Let's do that. And everybody listening or watching, please join us and just be there too, and do the same process for you as well.
Okay. Awesome. You ready?
Yes, so ready.
Okay. So if you feel safe to do so, you can just gently close your eyes. Plant your feet on the ground.
Sorry, I'm always sitting in yogi seat. Oh.
No. Just make sure, make sure you're...
I'm grounded now.
Okay.
Just sit in yogi seat.
There you go. Yeah. And just focus on your breathing. Just notice it, maybe even for the first time today. There you go. When you breathe from the belly up to the rib cage, the chest, and exhale. Just notice as your breath deepens. And I would like you to be aware, just aware of any thoughts going on in the mental space, in the mental mind. Just notice what's coming up. So this is what we call the mental body right now. And I can feel that you're in it because I'm very much in my head right now. So I'm tracking your energy, essentially. Notice how and now notice how you feel when you're in this space. From here, I just want you to take a deep breath and just start sinking into the body. There you go. Start sinking into the body. Use your breath to guide you. Always use your breath to guide you. And just notice where there's any tension. Notice where there's any tension. Yeah, there you go. Beautiful. Now, only in this space, I want you to see if wherever you feel tension, if there is a voice or an emotion that comes through, or maybe a color, a sensation.
I have a little bit of tightness in my chest.
Amazing. Okay. So I want you to just stay there with that. Is there a color at all?
No, just a sensation.
Okay. Is there a shape to it?
Yeah, round.
Yeah. Ah, okay. Do you know how old this part is?
7 or 8.
7 or 8. Okay. Just stay with her. So Hannah, at 7 or 8 years old, she's needing your attention right now. Beautiful. Does she know that you're there? That you're with her?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes, she does.
And is there anything that she wants to say to you?
She's scared.
She's scared. Okay. Just keep reinforcing that you're here and you're listening and that you see her and that you're sorry it took so long. Yeah, there you go. Keep sending breath to that space as well. It's very nourishing. How is she feeling now?
More grounded, more safe.
Okay.
Especially not alone anymore.
Perfect. Felt alone before. Okay. Just stay with her. From here, Hannah, with your eyes closed, I want you to bring the heart energy. So I want you to locate your heart I want you to bring the heart energy and pour it into the space where you felt tension before, into the chest, throat area. Heart energy, heart chakra is so, so powerful. I want you to just smother her in love. Yeah, I feel that. What's going on for you?
I'm hugging her right now as a grown up, and I'm playing with her and joking around with her, and she feels so loved and safe.
Awesome. So beautiful. I want you to tell her you'll be right back. You're not going anywhere. And I want you to just do a scan of your body right now and just notice how you feel.
Very calm, grounded.
Okay. So come back to her. Can you even put a hand, place a hand wherever she's located? Hands are very, very healing. And let her know that you'll be back. You're not going anywhere. Yeah. And she's not alone. You're always here. And you will be listening if she needs anything. Notice how expansive that feels in the body. Yeah, I can feel that. Notice how expansive that feels. She's not trapped. She's free. And only when you're ready, come back to the room.
Thank you. That was so beautiful.
Was that okay?
Yes, it was amazing.
Okay.
Just right now thinking, like, I swear my shoulders, there was so much tension removing from my shoulders. And I was just thinking, like, how often do we go to massages? But then actually all we got to do is like look a little bit inward, let go of certain emotions, and our shoulders just, everything relaxes. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, that was so beautiful to watch. I was tracking your energy a little bit. So not taking it on, but just I could really feel into your parts. So thank you for allowing me to do that. And that is what I did was parts work, and some of it stems from IFS therapy, which was created by Richard Schwartz. So I do some of that on with one-on-one clients, or even with my therapist. And then you start to notice when they pop up, right? I think your question prior to all this was, how do you know when the parts pop up? This is one way to do it. So you're creating connection with that part. You're not getting rid of anything. There's no need to get rid of anything. It's just, and maybe, you can go even deeper and you can start giving these parts different jobs as well, right? So, yeah.
But I love
Really,
this as well. Like when I work with my inner child or like past things, my mind always wants to kind of like try to figure out what was the situation about it, but that actually we don't need to know the situation. Like that we just need to connect with the part and feel the feeling and like give ourselves the whatever we needed in that moment, or whatever we feel that part needs right now. And that's how we can completely heal ourselves, with no matter if we do remember our childhood or certain incidents or not. So thank you so much for showing it to us like that.
Yeah, well, thank you for allowing me to do that. Yeah, you put me on the spot, but I I loved it. I love this work. I love it. I love guiding, and I love being the teacher, and I love being the student. So
same here. Absolutely. So everybody who is watching right now and was also very inspired, like, how can we work with you? You have now a new body-based healing program. How get in touch with you then? How can we enroll in the program? Tell us more about it.
So I'm launching a 6-week Awaken Your Inner Healer. So I have it starting on April 2nd. Now I have a 4 o'clock time, and then I'm going to add a 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because I know a lot of listeners, even a lot of my followers, they are across seas. So Pacific Standard Time, we're way behind. And then I also love doing one-on-one work. So it's very similar to, I just sort of gave you a mini one-on-one session. Obviously, we'll kind of go much deeper, but the one-on-ones are really catered to the individual. And yeah, I love this work. And, I do exploratory calls. So it's really important for me that the other person feels safe with me, and that there is a connection, because finding a coach or a therapist really is, honestly, it's like dating. I find there has to be a vibe, right? There has to be a connection. It's so true. And I want to make sure that I'm the best possible person for the individuals coming in. And so, yeah, we do a little like half hour. I don't need anything from it. It's just to meet, for you to express your intentions, right? And what you want to heal, and where you want to go, and maybe where you've been. I seem to attract a lot of individuals who've done a lot of cognitive therapy, who have gone to treatment, not necessarily everybody, but who has spent a lot of money, invested a lot of money in their health, like unnecessary amounts. And they're like, I'm not getting anywhere. I keep going backwards. And this work is cellular changes, transformational, sustainable shifts. And I don't do behavioral changes. So I'm not going to be telling you what you should and should not do. It's not so much advice giving. It's me guiding you, and you making those connections for yourself that are going to land in the most perfect way for you, which is what I love about this work, because something that works for me might not work for you, right? And trying to make it fit doesn't work. But you start you have these massive aha moments, and it becomes addicting. Like, this work is like, you want to do more, and it's like it's constant. Like you said, this never ends. But life doesn't have to be a struggle. That's what I've learned. Pain and struggle are two very different concepts, two very different things. Pain is necessary for growth. We struggle when we avoid the pain, and struggling is not fun. It's not. And yeah, so, and pain is necessary, and it's only scary because of what the mental mind tells us it to be, because of the narrative. But when we start dropping the narrative, the pain is sensation. It's nothing more than that, and it never lasts.
That's it.
Right.
I think that's like, sometimes when we are in these seasons where it seems like the pain is so overwhelming, and like, I think just this mantra and this knowing that this too shall pass, that is so giving hope. And that is what we need, I feel, the most in those moments, that we know, hey, this will go forever. Like, everything is seasons, and that's just what the whole universe is, ebbs and flows. And there will be a time again when we just fall in love with life and just can't believe and totally in awe. And there will be fine like times where we're just like crying down on our knees, feeling like, why again? So I feel like this is just part of the journey, and the more we embrace it, the more we are just in tune with life.
Yes. Yes, that's so beautifully said. Yes. And there's something so magical when you are being witnessed by another person, right? I think doing this work alone is part of it, but especially at the beginning, working with somebody, having a guide, a mentor to witness those parts of you and to help you co-nourish, co-regulate the nervous system, right, is so healing in itself. Like there have been sessions where I have said few words, but I've just sort of held space and guided the individual into their body, and the things that come up, it's like you can't make it up. It is so powerful. But there is a beautiful, there's coherency between, you know, practitioner, guide, mentor, and student, right? It's really a dance between the two of us, and it's really a collaboration of work. And the body needs that. The nervous system needs that, especially when we've been in this fight or flight, you know, flawn, whatever state we've been in, right? That your nervous system needs something to kind of go off of, because it's been frozen for so long, right?
Yes. And what I love about your program is like the name itself, like the healer within and so on, that you're empowering others to do the work at some point by themselves. You're teaching them like this is how you can learn to do it by yourself. And I find it very important that we build also the self-trust, that we can heal ourselves and that we are never, because I sometimes watch that on this healing journey, certain people are starting to become almost like codependent on, and it's all about the next therapist, the next healer, the next, and so on. But we have all the wisdom within, and I love that you're teaching the tools that we can access that wisdom. So thank you so much for your wonderful work. Thank you for thank you for the wonderful conversation. Thank you for the wonderful session. And yeah, just a big thank you. You're such a light in the world, and so keep shining your light.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you again for having me on. It's always so lovely. I feel so calm, especially this is, you know, I don't usually do this very often. I feel so calm in your presence. You're regulating my nervous system. See, you're yes, what you did, you co-regulated mine. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So now I have to see how I get offline. Sending you much love.
Bye.